You bring up an interesting point as well in terms of just capturing these really intimate, personal moments and just, where people's guards are down, but yet you've got a camera in there. I mean, how do you as a filmmaker, do you have a technique that you use to maybe distract them, make them not focus on you and maybe even forget that you're there?
I have tons of little tips and tricks.
Yeah.
And
Lucy Walker's tips and tricks.
I know, I'll give you a few of them, but I'll also say that a lot of it is picking people who are incredibly courageous and honest and open.
Good
because you can do so much, but then also you really need people that are able to open up and ready at that moment in their lives where they are motivated to share their experience. And so you need, it's a real partnership. But some of my tips and tricks I think are, honestly, when real stuff is going down, people are going to forget the camera because there's actually stuff going down.
Yeah.
So I think if you put yourself in the way of a situation unfolding that's dramatic and important for the people, they have to, if that's the moment where people have to confront each other, they have to confront them. And if there's a camera in the room, they're going to do it in front of you. And so some of it's just being strategic about when you're there and making sure that you don't get the rehash afterwards. You're there for the moment it happens. So being there when people arrive.
Out.
Being there when people arrive, the energy dissipates. So it's like learning about the timing. I have another trick that's a really good one that I learned. I think I figured this out for myself. I don't think I got it from anyone, but I'm happy to share it with everybody. Sure. Which is that I really encourage people I'm filming to let me film, never to say cut, because the instinct is whenever it starts to get interesting or heavy or scary or emotionally overwhelming, or the conflict's about to go down, people will say, stop filming now, or cut the camera, or is that thing off? Yeah. And number one, if people have the power to do that, they're already thinking about the camera. And number two, oftentimes exactly the stuff that they would call cut on, in retrospect, they'll be like, oh, I wish we'd filmed that. Yeah. Because that was the moment where we figured it all out, or that's the moment when I had that realization, or that's the moment we finally had the breakthrough. And typically, actually, people dig deep and are proud of the amazing, triumphs of those difficult moments, more so than they are ever going to say, oh, I'm so glad we didn't film that. Yeah. And so if you say to people we can always decide not to use it afterwards, but why don't we just film everything and worry about that later?
Now that's a really good trick.
It's a good trick, yeah. And they don't worry about it in the moment because they know they have the control and the trust. Okay. And that they do have the trust. I have absolutely taken stuff out that people have, in retrospect, felt like they can't have in there. And I think that's important because, you have an infinite responsibility to the people that you're filming because this is their life. And so you have to be answerable to that. At the same time as actually, they might be really happy that you've done that afterwards.
One thing I would love to know as well is, you were lucky enough to have a woman as your teacher.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was there certain advice that Barbara gave you that just has really stuck with you this entire time?
Oh, she gave us such good advice, and I only had her for 1 year for one class I went to graduate film school. It was like I did 4 years of classes and all in fiction actually, which was also great training for documentary. But Barbara was so encouraging. One of the things that sticks with me a lot, and I always share because I think it's so encouraging, is that she said, whenever you're filming a documentary, you think you're missing everything. You think you're missing 99% of what is happening. But don't worry, even if you only get 1%, you can get back to the editing room and find that you've got plenty to make the film with. So just keep going, don't worry about it.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, because you can feel like, oh, the car breaks down right before you're supposed to film something, and then the camera jams, and then people decide not to do it that day, or actually it turns out not to happen the way you think it's going to happen, and then it never goes down the way.
Sounds like life.
You want to. Exactly, it is. Life documentary is like life intensified, and but it doesn't matter actually. If you've got a good enough story and you just keep at it, you'll be great.